Hello again, and welcome to this information session for the Building Opportunities and Leveraging Technology grant program with the Internet Society Foundation. My name is Shana Robinson, and I am a program officer with the Internet Society Foundation. This program, which we call BOLT for short, like a lightning bolt, is one of the programs that I'm in charge of and working to launch. This is our inaugural launch for this call. And so I just want to welcome everybody and thanks for being here with us today. With me are a few other staff members from the foundation. I won't ask them to introduce all of themselves, but if they can just give a little wave so you can see if you work at the foundation. Thanks so much for turning up and supporting us in this call. And then finally with me today is a person who has been super helpful in this journey of building and creating this program. And I thought one of the things we could do today is just chat a little bit about sort of how we came to design the program the way that we did and sort of the things that we've been thinking about in the background as we were doing that work. And so I just want to invite Jessica, if she wants, to just give us a quick introduction of herself and sort of what she's been up to.
Thanks, Shana. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad you're here. My name is Jessica Clark. I'm the founder and director of Dot Connector Studio. We're based in Philadelphia. We are a media and technology strategy and forecasting firm. Shana and I actually met in a session at Mozilla on the future of the internet. So we decided we would put our heads together and really take a futurist approach to this question of how to get the other half of the world onto the internet. And so it's been really exciting to take a broad look at the field of public interest internet activities and to get a good sense of it and help it shape this program.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. And again, yeah, we've just been having some really interesting conversations about the future. And like Jessica said, we met in that session and we've just carried over that conversation from that day into work and moving through all of this. And so I wondered if we could just start, maybe not in the future in this conversation, but going back a bit to help contextualize the program and what we're thinking about and the types of programs that we're looking for. Again, we'll have opportunities a bit later for questions. We have some questions that we've gotten through email, through the registration for the event. So thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. And we'll go through a bit more detail about what we're looking for in the call with some specifics about eligibility and selection and things like that. But before we get into that, just a conversation with Jessica and I think would be helpful. So Jessica, again, to go back in time, maybe you can talk about sort of what your first computer was. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a TRS-80. I've been on the internet. I was thinking about it this morning, 3/5 of my life. So it had that little, carrot prompt. There were no pictures and it was a big boxy, behemoth.
Yes. Was it a green screen? Did it have a green screen?
It was either green or orange. I can't remember which, but It wasn't pretty.
And how did it connect to the internet? Or was that the computer that you used to connect to the internet?
Eventually. It had one of those screechy modems. I think we might have even had CompuServe or AOL. I can't remember. But yes, it was a loud and slow process.
Nice. And what do you remember other than it being loud and slow? Do you remember other things about your first experience on the internet and what that was like?
I mean, I think just, the promise of it, the idea that we could connect to people in other countries, this sense, I was a real nerd. So this sense of like libraries at my fingertips. It was really, I got really fascinated immediately. And then in college, I started studying some of the early, they're called MUDs, early online communities.
MUDs, what's the MUD?
Dimensions.
Oh, I've never heard this term, a MUD.
Yeah. So yes, imagine, Second Life or VR chat, but just a line of text.
Just text, okay, got it. Awesome. And now, I mean, I guess if you think about sort of the evolution of that, and I won't ask you for what year that was that you were doing these things, but I imagine it was, 80s, 90s, sort of before the millennium, turn of the millennium. But I wonder if you think about sort of the history of that and where we're moving forward, what do you think connecting to the internet would look like, let's say in 2030?
So a lot of the people that I'm working with now, I edit this thing called immerse.news, are talking about the metaverse. And that means a combo of augmented reality and fully immersive experiences, where you might even have like a persistent avatar that carries you across many different environments, or a persistent identity. I think that's one vision. But the truth is, it's going to be really unevenly distributed, and people are going to be getting on in different ways for all kinds of reasons at all kinds of levels. So we don't really know. Of course, we have lots of sci-fi to tell us what it might look like, but the reality is much crunchier and more nuanced.
Yeah, and I think the point about sci-fi and sort of how much our creative communities influence the actual direction of technology. I don't know if people were aware, but I saw just this past weekend that William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk on Star Trek, actually went to space, which is really crazy to me. But really to see how fiction and sort of these things influence and are able to drive innovation and our march towards the future, I think is really interesting and important. And one of the things that we tried to pull out in this call, which we'll talk a bit more about later. Who do you think is still not connected in 2030? Who's still not on the internet?
Well, we asked a bunch of people who are involved with the foundation this question, and they had various interesting answers. I thought one of the most interesting ones was people who are afraid of the internet and they don't want to be on it. So part of the challenge for getting people on the internet is making it safer, making it more trustworthy, making it less hate-filled. So that's one thing. Another is, folks who can't afford it. People who are we think we're not necessarily going to have a global internet. So people who are in countries where, they're blocked from access. People who maybe live in places that are still difficult to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things that we heard when we were asking around.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things recently with the Facebook outage that happened, I think 2 weeks ago now, maybe, was there was a really interesting response to that, and people were like, "Oh, the whole internet has shut down,"
Right.
and it was only because it was like, "Well, no, the whole internet is still working. It's just Facebook," and because Facebook and its services are so ubiquitous and so pervasive in our societies that when that goes out, you sort of assume that the entire internet is out. And so I think about, when we talk about who's still not online, it's like, yeah, well, if someone's entire experience of the internet is through Facebook and its products, if Facebook doesn't exist, if there are legal ramifications, if there are antitrust situations that emerge, we really may see some interesting things that happen, for people's ability to access and what they're able to access.
Yeah,
so
it was profound in Latin America. Like large swaths of the commerce had to shut down because WhatsApp wasn't working. I mean,
yeah,
having a government or a corporation primarily be your choke point is dangerous. And so part of what we're hoping to address with this grant initiative is other ways to get people on the internet that are not just cheaper but more accessible.
Definitely. I think the other thing you mentioned that's really interesting, that we think about a lot here at Internet Society Foundation, is around infrastructure too, and how the hardware of the internet and having being able to access that and the cost of that is sometimes or oftentimes a barrier. And so there was some interesting discussion when we were going around and talking to people and interviewing and just sort of workshopping this whole program, the conversation around reusing older technology in places to sort of offset the accessibility challenges. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question is, instead of this consumer model of obsolescence, how can and e-waste, how can we think about rehabbing older devices and older routers and other things in creative ways, and using the limitations of them not as a weakness, but perhaps as a benefit in situations where you don't need quite as much high-speed access or as many capabilities to get what you need to get done. So I think there's a tremendous amount of creative reuse potential in this field that we've only scratched the surface of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's really interesting. I have an iPhone that's very fancy, and when I was traveling before the pandemic, it would be interesting because I would go to places where I couldn't use my iPhone. It wasn't helpful, and I actually needed just a feature phone to be able to access whatever banking services or fintech was going on. That it was much easier to do that, and so I think that's a really interesting point of view to take when we think about innovation. It's not just about making the brightest, shiniest, newest thing, but really taking something or an idea that people have already thought of and repurposing it for other things or to make it more accessible for folks. So I think that's a really interesting take on that.
Yeah, one of the ridiculous objects that I own is this thing that basically looks like an old-fashioned typewriter, and it's just a word processor that has no screen, just like a little e-reader, so that you can do nothing but write, and it doesn't allow you to cut and paste. You just have to write forward, which is stupid, of course, because I have 1,000 computers. But but because I need to not be distracted and I want to just write things, I bought this object, and there are many objects like that out in the world that are just waiting for the perfect user.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess another question, and coming to sort of wrap up this bit of the discussion, is just around other solutions, and we've sort of started talking about this, but who are some folks, or what are some things that you've seen of people working towards sort of connecting those who are still unconnected in 2030? Where's the vanguard, and what are they doing, and how can we sort of support those efforts?
I think there's a sort of a triangle between access to the internet, the appropriate interface, and then the ways in which people can use those devices to do the things that they need. So I think, I mean, Dana, there's an example you often bring up. What is the one with the e-readers?
Sorry, what was it?
Trying to get older people on the internet with tablets?
Yes, so there's a program that we're supporting through the United Way of Netherlands and Spain, and it's through our emergency response program. And it really was an opportunity to get folks connected, seniors, so elderly people who are not very well experienced with the internet and internet technologies and hardwares and tablets and phones, but to get them online during the pandemic because they were isolated and feeling, rather lonely, as many of us were, and still are. And they were connecting them through tablets that were really pared down. And so they had installed software onto the tablets where it was just, you only have sort of like 2 buttons to push. There's only 2 apps that you have on there. One is WhatsApp, which is the one that you're going to use to talk to people. And then there was like another something that was pretty simple to make phone calls or something like that. But the idea that you're sort of removing all the things that are available to you via the internet to make it more accessible is also a really interesting and innovative way to approach connecting folks, because some of us don't actually want all of the things. We don't want access to, or we get overwhelmed with all of the bells and whistles of what the technology can do for us. And sometimes we just want it to do that one thing and do it very well, and we're happy with that. And so I think the utility value of technology is really important in thinking about what has value for folks, not necessarily what you can do or what's the coolest thing you can do with a thing, but actually what are people going to appreciate, and how is it going to improve their lives or make their lives easier. So I think those are the solutions also that we want to focus on. There's
also a really interesting article in the New York Times recently about community mesh networks. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, it's like a hardware solution, a networking solution, and then there's that local incentive to be connected to people around you, to be volunteering, to to have a feeling that what you're doing is relevant. So I think there are lots of great examples, and I'm hoping that we find out about more of them as people apply.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for this, Jessica, for this quick chat and for sort of contextualizing how we're thinking about this, and to maybe give some clues and some insight into some of our applicants for the program, just about how we're thinking about it, so we can demystify a bit of the application process. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to take over a bit and share my screen and get into the nitty-gritty of the proposal, or of the call for the program. So I hope everyone can see this. Jessica, give me a thumbs up. Can you see this? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, great.
You may need to hit, yeah, there you go.
Yes, here we go. All right, so again, this is our Building Opportunities and Leveraging Technology Grant Program. And we want to just thank so much Jessica. Again, she's been a terrific thought partner for me in helping to do this work and to do this. Jessica has some really phenomenal work that she's done with a few other organizations, so you should definitely check her out and find her online. Maybe she'll chat with you. Maybe you can be a thought partner with her as well, to talk about some things that you're curious about around media and the internet.
Happy to.
Thanks. So again, this is a little word bubble I made of the things that we're thinking about when we're talking about this program. It really is, the BOAT program really is our most experimental and playful grant program at the foundation. This is the sort of final program that in the blueprints of the foundation, which was started just a few years ago. This was a final program that was set to launch. And so we're really happy internally in celebrating the launch of this program. And it means so much success for us. And so we're really happy and excited to see what comes through. But this program really is about creating the future of the internet. And what does that look like? And how do we get there? And what are the things that are important for us? And what are the barriers that are important for us to overcome? And so we're really just excited to see what comes through. And we hope that you are as creative and thoughtful as you can be when you're considering applying. So to give you a bit of background, and again, most of this information is on our website. So I hope that if you've read the call and if you've signed up for this, that you should be pretty familiar and aware, but I just want to go through a bit more to talk about specifically what we're trying to do. In 2021, so in this particular round of funding, we are awarding 4 grants. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for a total. And each grant we would award $200,000 for a 12-month project. We really hope that these grants will help move and advance the internet and move us toward connectivity and access for everyone around the world if they choose to be connected, that they overcome the barriers of cost and many other things to connect. And so we really hope that we can sort of spark and innovate here in this program. We think that if we're able to do that, if we are really able to find some solutions that are innovative and creative in their approach, that we can really move the needle and hopefully potentially scale up and share the learnings of how to do that. And so that other communities around the world who are struggling or who need support in accessing the internet can do that. And so that's really what this whole project and this whole program is about. For each of our grant programs uses an independent review committee. We have a separate set of people who review and make comments and recommendations on each application that comes through. So it's not just me looking at those things, although I do look at everything. But ultimately we have independent reviewers that take a look and use rubrics to sort of judge or make recommendations on what we'd like to fund or what they think we should fund that helps move us toward our goals and objectives of the program. And these bullet points here just outline those things and sort of when we're talking about those rubrics and the scales in which they're sort of measuring and making those recommendations, these are the things that they're looking for. So really we want to have a project that is working to solve a real world problem. You know, we appreciate theoretical approaches, we appreciate very creative approaches, but also they need to be tied to reality and really sort of making a headway on a problem that exists in the world today. and anticipating problems that will exist in the future. The second bullet is really one that sort of Jessica and I chatted about and touched on a little bit earlier, but really teams and collaborations, and especially bringing in creatives and artists. As we know, science fiction really drives a lot of innovation. Things that are imagined back in the 60s and 70s on television and film are actually coming into reality today, which is pretty mind-boggling and crazy. But we support and we appreciate the efforts of those communities, those artistic and creative communities to that. And so we really would love to see creative and artistic approaches and sort of integrating that type of work into this, because we see that as a important piece of this type of work. And then finally, just around sort of what success looks like and what we would hope that your project would work to achieve are really some things that we know are barriers to internet access, things like cost and trust. So we want to see, and we're hoping to find projects that support reducing those things, cost or enhancing trust, or really working to remove some of the barriers that we know exist for people and why they are not currently connected. So it's not just about a hardware solution, but it's about a hardware solution that is cost effective, that is environmentally sustainable, and all of those things. Eligibility. On our website, we have a whole section under our resources section around grantee eligibility. For all of our grant programs, we are only able to fund organizations that are not for-profit organizations. So we're not able to fund for-profit organizations. And we are also only able to fund organizations whose mission is aligned with that of the Internet Society. And so if you go online, you can read that statement and what that means, but it really is just in support of an internet for everyone, which I think is pretty broad and wide ranging. So you can find synergies and ways to connect through that mission and vision. But the project has to be in the spirit of that. So things that are specifically related to, making money and sort of charging people lots of money to access the internet or things like that probably are not necessarily aligned to what we're looking for. But not-for-profit solutions, civic tech solutions, public interest technology, these kinds of things, those are the things that we're interested in seeing. And again, all of the guidance on the 501c3 equivalency and what that means in the US versus what that may mean in your country, that can all be found on our website. And then finally, one of the things that we're testing out with this call for applications is that we are accepting audio/visual applications. So if you are feeling very creative, we certainly encourage you, if you want to make a recording, to talk about it. We just ask that you answer all of the questions, and you'll see when you register in the Flux system, you'll see all of that information detailed for you, what those questions are. So feel free, be your creative self. I think it would help you if you wanted to use that as an opportunity to do that. And then lastly, I just want to go through a few questions that came through when folks are registering for the event. And some of them were repeat questions, so I just made some slides so we could talk about them. If you have specific questions about whether or not your organization is eligible, unfortunately, I cannot give you a yes or no answer on the spot. Organizations and the way that they're sort of constituted in different countries means a lot of different things. And so one of the tools that we use is an equivalency determination. So organizations here in the US are sort of set up through our tax code as a 501c3, which means they're not for profit organization. But what that means in Australia or in India or in South Africa may mean something totally different. And so we have lawyers that sort of go through that process and look at all the paperwork and make determinations about that. So I personally cannot tell you whether or not your organization is eligible, but there is some guidance on our website that is phenomenal. Shout out to Julia and Connie on our team for getting that out there and making it look nice. that has really good information about sort of what that means and what that looks like. So if you have specific questions about that, please feel free to check that out. The second question, do we have a specific geographic focus? No, we do not. We do not have a specific focus geographically for this. The internet is everywhere, and folks struggle to connect to the internet everywhere. And so we really want to see solutions that are coming from all corners of the earth. So we don't have any specific region or geography that we're looking to work on. So we're really open to accepting applications from all over the world. If you are curious, we have some really wonderful guidance on our website around building a strong application. So what it helps, it's a sort of a short course a little bit, and it walks you through some really helpful tips and hints for putting together strong applications. So for example, if you're not really sure about how to build a budget, or you're not really sure about how to develop indicators for success of your project, there's some really helpful guidance there and a little course that you can go through. And I think the introduction has a lovely video from Sarah, our executive director, so you can check that out as well. It's a lot of information, but also can help you if this is the first time you're ever applying for a grant. Wonderful, great. But even if you're a seasoned veteran, it might be helpful for you to go through and just brush up on some skills and make sure you're covering all the bases. And then finally, can current or past foundation grantees, including our Isoc chapters, apply to this program? Yes, anyone can apply. You can submit as many applications as you want. As long as you are eligible and that you are meeting those requirements, we're happy to review your applications and to go through them. So yes, if you are a current grantee, we fully support your applications and we encourage you to do that. And we look forward to seeing what comes through. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, this is a quote from William Blake, who was an English way back, maybe 200 years ago now, maybe even 300, who was an artist. And at the time of his sort of working was considered mad because he was just imagining and doing some things that at his time seemed really to be out of order and sort of crazy, but actually came to be in existence later on in the future. And so I really just wanted to encourage people that as you think about this programming, you think about what the future of the internet could look like, is really to use your imagination. This is a program that's supporting pilots, that's supporting prototypes and product development. So if you have an idea and you're not really sure and you want to try it out and you want to experiment, then this is the program for you. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll just open it up for any comments or questions. I'll ask if you can just raise your hand. There's in the reactions. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little smiley face and you'll see an opportunity to raise your hand. So if anyone has any questions, just give us a hand raise or put them in the chat. It works as well.
Shana, I just wanted to add that we're really thinking about this as a learning opportunity for the foundation, and that what we're hoping is to really get a better grasp from all these applications on what the terrain is and what people think the leading edge of these questions is. So we're all we're eager to learn from everybody here.
Definitely, absolutely. We have some learning questions that we've developed for this program and for other programs, just as we journey through these and help to design and iterate in the future of what the program looks like in the future. And so we absolutely look forward to learning and hearing from everyone about how these things work. Any questions?
I just want to add, first of all, I want to thank Shana and Jessica for doing an amazing job pulling this program together. And I'm thrilled. By the way, I'm Sarah Armstrong, sorry, Executive Director of the Internet Society Foundation. I'm thrilled to see you all here, and we are so excited about this program. There's so much potential for us to learn new things that can change lives. And we hope that all of you can find ways to help us do that together. So I just want to thank Shayna and Jessica first, and well, the whole team, but they in particular really pulled this together. And I want to thank all of you for joining us and look forward to the conversation.
Great. And then I do see a few questions in the chat. One says, we are working with subgrantees. Is there a limit to these? No, there is not. We don't have any limits on subgrantees. So if you have a few partners that you're working with and you want to set it up as a subgrantee relationship, that's no problem. The second one, if you're a nonprofit, do we need a fiscal sponsor? What kind of docs attachments do you expect for organization capacity section? Fiscal sponsorship is an avenue that you can take. You don't have to have a fiscal sponsor, but if you say, for example, you're a smaller organization who wants to sort of incubate itself in another bigger, broader organization, that's something we would consider, but that is not a requirement. No, you do not have to have a fiscal sponsor. In terms of documents to show organizational capacity, things like org charts or annual reports or other things that sort of talk about your organization as a whole and the history of your organization would be very helpful. I think there was another hand. Maybe I missed it. Yeah.
Looks like there's another question.
Another question. Okay. What is the limitation on the number of applications that can be submitted by one organization? There is no limit. Feel free to submit as many as you would like. It's not going to hurt or help your chances if you have a bunch. I mean, although I guess probability wise, maybe it helps you if you submit a bunch. But no, it doesn't. It's not going to make a difference. So if you have an idea, submit for your idea. Absolutely. Natalie, hi, says, can you talk about the shared goals and differences between your research grant program and this new BOLT program? Is the BOLT program positioned for researchers or more applied programmatic work? Great question. In all of our programs, and I'll just say the research program is another program that that is in sort of my basket of programs that we support. And for all of our programs, there is an element of overlap. And so a lot of the things that we're learning through our research program carry over into some of our other programs. The same way things that we're learning in our emergency response program carry over into some of our resiliency work. And so while there is overlap, they are very different programs. The research program is geared more towards academics and researchers specifically. So there are specific research products that come out of that. So for example, reports or white papers or, conference things or that kind of stuff that come out of that, and that they have very specific questions, research questions that they're trying to answer. Whereas this one is really about coming up with projects or pilots, social innovations, technological innovations that can be implemented in a 12-year period, just to see if it works. And if it works, how do we scale those things up and make that available in other communities? So I think, it's a bit different in that way, that this is really an invitation to be a bit more creative. Yes, $200,000 US dollars. Yes, for 12 months. And then Sanjay, I'll ask you to unmute.
Thank you. Good morning. We have applied to the Internet Society grants previously. We did it in July to the SILS program. And what a lot of the feedback we got there, we didn't manage to get the grant, but we got lovely feedback telling us the importance of being able to pinpoint a community whom we want to work with. And we're here in Colombia in South America, and we're going through a very hectic time in this country. Every time we plan to do something, social instability, violence, and pandemic all together have become it's very difficult to plan, to be honest. Situations are changing dramatically. We work with many communities around the country. And we're working with communities which already have internet. We know of many which don't, and we do have sort of suggestions of solutions, but there's so many factors that are like out of our out of our control that it's difficult to pinpoint the communities with which we went. So here I'm asking for a little bit of advice. We have in our mind several communities which we would like to create a public space for internet connection with them and design it with them, thinking of what they would like. And one of the challenges is being able to decide with the budget that there is with who we would be able to work with, because they're very different communities in very different locations around the country, and it's not so easy to access them. So my question would be, we do not have a certain community specific already which we know we would be working with. We have like a pool of communities with which we have relationships with. And usually what we do is we ask them to raise their hand and say who would like to participate, more than us saying, we have a project for you. We have your solution for you. We say who would like to participate in coming up with the solution with us. In our previous application, this was one of the reasons why it was difficult for us.
Oh, sorry. I think you are muted. Unmute, Sanjay, sorry.
Get your feedback.
Okay.
You lost me?
Yeah, but I think I've got it. Yes, no, it's okay.
Okay. Sorry. So just to know, what would you suggest if we can't find a specific community, or is it better to try and get in this month, not like 10 days, decide, okay, we're going to do it in this place and let's do it there. And if that changes, is that a problem?
Yeah, so what I'll say, and I'm not sure with the skills program and how that works and what that feedback was. I'm not wasn't part of those conversations, so I can't respond to that. But what I can say here is that it's not necessarily geographic communities that we're looking for. So you could say that there are many people in Colombia who are part of a community, who are working class community, or who are undereducated community, or who are a religious or a minority group who are affiliated. There could be a lot of different communities that you could be talking about and how you talk about it. So it's not just geography, but I think that however you define that, just make sure that you define that well. And if part of the process is making an assessment of those communities and finding the best fit based on whatever criteria you've outlined, I think that's fine. And I actually think that's pretty responsible to not just show up in a place and say, we're going to do this, but to actually ask questions first. But I think if you are clear about what the target is and the objective of what you're trying to do in general, I think you'll be in good shape. So I don't know how helpful that is, but yeah, I got it.
Very helpful.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Awesome, no problem. Okay, Michael, yes, please.
Hello, I'm very happy to see you and to be here on this call. We look forward to applying. I just have some really specific questions that are specific to the platform. So I want to first declare that we have previously tried to apply to the Internet Society Foundation. We've been courting you for some time and hope this time around something maybe will come out. Let's see how it goes. So on the Flux, we already have an account on Flux, and we intend to use that to apply with the previous where the previous applications are. I did not see the application documents, because there's a section where you submit application documents. So I've been trying to look through the call on the website and also through Flux, and I didn't find anything. So maybe a template for a proposal. Is everything going to be input into the spaces provided in Flux? The other question is that we have the equivalence determination, and unfortunately, they do not issue a physical certificate or a certificate that you can be able to upload somewhere. So what was issued is a code that you can be able to add to a website. And there is a section on in Flux where you're supposed to add that equivalence determination. So just a bit of guidance on how we go about that. Otherwise, thank you so much. We look forward to submitting our application.
Thank you so much, Michael, for those questions. The first thing I'm going to say is that any specific sort of problems or issues with Flux should be directed to the email address flux, FLUXX _help, HELP, at isocfoundation.org. And maybe someone can drop that in the chat for me. But
no, I see it here at the bottom. So
yes,
I see. Thank you.
So that's a great place. If you're having technical sort of difficulties or issues, that's a great place to send those questions. But I will say there should be, and I was just in there the other day, there should be some spaces to add additional documents and things like that. But if not, we can go back and check and make sure that those boxes are available for you. On the second question around equivalency determination, no problem. So really just do your best. Any information that you can provide for us is great. We will go back and sort of do the things internally that we need to do on the due diligence front to sort of confirm and get whatever things we need to get or follow up with you or other organizations that you've worked with to do the equivalency determination. So that's not a problem. But if you have a link or a person's name or something somewhere, email address that we can send information if we need to, that would be very helpful. And then I think that was it. Was there another question you had? Were there three? Or was it just those two? Just those two. Okay. Well, I very much look forward.
Just those two. The first one though was really about some form of like application template, which is not what we have, which is not the question that we have already in Flux. So Flux has these questions that we're supposed to respond to. I was just wondering that if there is anything like an application template that has to be written separately and then submitted as application documents, because there's a section for application documents.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying. No, so there's no additional thing that you need to do. There should, I think we have like 5 questions. I think it is 5 or 6 questions and that is the entirety of the application. Beyond, you know, there are some standard questions about the organization and that kind of stuff. That, you know, is other stuff. And in terms of the actual application, there are just those 5 or 6 questions and that's it. So there's nothing, the additional documents are things that you can support if you want to add stuff for support of your application. If there are other, I don't know, things that you think would be helpful for us to know, that you could upload things. And I see Julia just came back on camera. Julia, did you want to say a quick thing about that? She's our friend.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing you just said. It's just a section where you can upload anything else that you feel would be in support or enhance your application. It's not a required section. Yeah, that's all I was going to say. And then with the equivalency determination, there is a question at the beginning of the application where you can include that information when you talk about your organization capacity and things like that. So if you want to include that information, the link or the code or whatever it is, then we can, yeah, as Shana said, do our research from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. Just before I get to IEE, I'm going to there are a few more questions in the chat. Will there be another round of funding after this one? Not in 2021. No, there will not be, but definitely in 2022, we anticipate another round of funding, which as soon as we have that up and running, we'll send out more information and let folks know, but not for 2021, this is it, but there will be another round. Can the phases be multiple of 200,000? I'm not sure what that means, but maybe I'll ask Abdul Latif. Did I say that correct?
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Shaina.
No problem.
We're so excited, and we hope to put in our applications. We have a very big problem to solve, really, and we see that the grant it's sub what is going to even address maybe the phase 1 or phase 2 of our problems. So we're looking at can we submit in multiples? Perhaps for this call, we submitted first 200, and in subsequent call, we can as well take other phases.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, so you would not, the only difference would be you wouldn't be able to be awarded multiple awards within the same call. So if you were to win one award this year, great. And then if you go through that and then the next year you apply again and you win that one, fantastic. So yes, you can do that. You just wouldn't be able, you wouldn't get 2 awards for the same organization within the same call. But yes, we would support like ongoing each call to have new ones. Yeah.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, no problem. And then let me ask Usman.
Hi, Shayna.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, we are in an organization in West Africa, a French-speaking country, and we are working since 2013 to help vulnerable communities to ameliorate their living conditions. So we use a lot internet to achieve our objectives. So what my question is, since that we are in a French-speaking country, it is possible to write the application in English. And the second question is to apply to this project. Must we be a professional of computer science or not?
These are great questions. Yes, you can submit your application in French. That's no problem. Well, my French isn't great. I did study a little bit of French in school, but we do have some French speakers on our staff. So absolutely, you can do that in French, no problem. And then the second one, no, you don't have to be a computer scientist. No, you don't have to have formal education. You can be whoever you want to be. We don't have any requirements for that. So you have no problems. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, I'm just going back to the chats quickly to see. Yes, okay, thank you. Can a coalition of organizations apply? Yes, and again, partnership and collaboration are really things that we value here at the foundation, and we love to support opportunities for people to collaborate and work together. So if you do that, although there would, just for the sake of sort of logistics, there would need to be one lead organization that would apply and would be responsible for sort of signing contracts and things like that. But yes, we strongly encourage partnerships and collaborations and coalitions. Anyone else? Any other questions? No? Okay, well, I'll thank you everyone so much for attending today. And again, we really, really look forward to seeing what you come up with. We are always available via email. We're also on Twitter. So if you have questions and comments and things that you didn't get a chance to answer or questions you have, then I will be happy to answer them. We will make a recording of this. Well, we are making a recording of this, and so we'll send this around as well. So if you want to see that, you can certainly come back and visit us. Kenna Project, sorry, are you having another session at 4? No, we're not having another session at 4. We actually just changed the session today so we could just accommodate some more folks in the time. But yes, we will send out the recording. And again, you can always catch us on email. And then the other one, can a project be applied at any phase or must it be early stages? No, it doesn't have to be early stages. So if you have something that you're already working on and you just need some more funds to support the next stage of it or to help scale it or whatever it is that you're doing, that's no problem. There's not anything in specifically we're looking for. And then with that, let me just give Jessica an opportunity if she has any sort of thoughts that she wants to end with or encouragement and folks who are applying.
I was just thinking about this quote that I like too, which is prestige is ossified inspiration. So I think that, you know, often for this type of application, there's a bit of anxiety about being an expert or about being at the cutting edge, but really it's about creating a solution that serves the community or the constituency that you're addressing and doing something innovative, redefining innovation for your own you know, purposes and for the purposes of the people you're serving. So I like to always encourage everybody, don't have imposter syndrome. We just want to see what you're thinking about, want to see what we're doing. You might have the next solution and not even know it. So good luck. And we're so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Jessica. And then Sarah, maybe I'll just give you a chance to end us on a high note as well.
Okay, so on a high note,
Yes.
this is a great program. This is an exciting opportunity, and this is a perfect time for launching something like this, because we all know that more and more people are dependent on the internet as a result of the pandemic, and we want to try to get as many people connected as we can in the most innovative ways. So we are thrilled that you're interested in working with us, and we really look forward to seeing the applications and getting this off the ground, because our intention is, yes, to award funding this year before the end of the calendar year. And our intention is, yes, absolutely, to continue the program into 2022 with another call for applications. So I wish you all lots of luck. And again, thank you so much for your interest.
Awesome. Thank you. And there's just a few more questions that are coming through the chat, and I'll just direct you back to our website. Again, has lots of information on budgeting and all of these things under our resources tab. You can find lots of information. And again, feel free to follow up over email. But with that, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to reading your applications. Take care.